Welcome to the 20K Q&A. This has been very long delayed and is now finally ready. I apologize if some questions were not answered. I've tried my best to pretty much answer every single one. There were a lot of questions and it was not possible to fit every single one into a video. So I guess treat this almost like a podcast because it's going to be very raw for the most part. There won't be much editing going on. So, yeah. First off, thank you very much for all your support. Creating audios have given me a space to explore my creativity and have opened just so many doors for me. I am the happiest I have ever been and can genuinely say that this channel has given me the strength to persevere and allowed me to live through some of the most terrifying and draining years of my life. Managing the channel has also given me lots of personal growth and new skills, and I've also managed to meet many wonderful people, and I'm glad to say that some have even remained my friends since. I'm still learning and growing every single day, and I'm very happy to do it alongside you all. So, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Without you all, I wouldn't have been able to continue making my content. So, thank you. Without further ado, though, let's get into the Q&A. I will be starting with questions from Patreon. From Samuel K. How do you get inspiration for names of characters and places in the world you create? Sometimes the names can be completely random. Usually it is a mishmash of different words that I've put together. Of course, the words itself are significant. Sometimes the names will have very specific meanings, or the parts of the name will be taken from other words that tend to deal with the theme of the character or their story. For example, the surname Haima is the word for blood. This is because of their connection to Morena, who is the weaver of blood. As for naming places, often locations are, I suppose, also inspired by different words or old places. Sometimes they might be fictional, sometimes myth, that sort of thing. But thank you for the question. From Viru Fraud, what's your favorite fantasy story, be it book, comic, show, or game? Mine's artsy. So I've gotten into reading recently. I've been reading for a little while now, but my favorite fantasy story sort of changes all the time. My current favorite story is the Folk of Air series by Holly Black. It's a young adult series that's really rich in lore and is very vivid and very fun to read. Definitely one of my favorites. Yeah. Thank you. From Vortigern, if you could be transported into the story of one of your characters, who would you choose and why? I would say Princess Consort Victoria. We haven't gotten to her story quite yet, but what I have planned, I think that she has incredible character growth, and it would be really good to feel that way too. I've been doing a lot of mental growing myself, and I think experiencing what Victoria goes through and seeing her recover and heal would be just amazing, especially because she's going to end up with someone who is a wonderful listener and a wonderful communicator. And so Yeah, thank you. From Kudai Rasen. If your characters came to our world, what would they enjoy the most here? What's your favorite historical period? What is your favorite marine animal? Um, and which future part or future series from your world are you personally most looking forward to? I'm not really sure. I think that technology would be pretty interesting. There's a bunch of different characters that would definitely find it entertaining. Like, I'm trying to think of names. Like L- Headmaster Vesper or Leo, and also Rasias. I think Rasias would love a laptop. So, yeah. My favorite historical period is probably the Regency era or the Tudor era. I love the fashions and I find the um, culture very fascinating. So, the puffin is my favorite marine bird and one of my favorite animals overall. Okay, so choosing the most would be really hard. There's a few series that I'm pretty excited to show you guys, but one of them will be Night Era season 2. I think that one's pretty exciting. There's going to be a lot of emotions going around. Like, oh my goodness, there's so much to that story. I'm so excited to share that. Also, it's going to be hard for me because I guess the emotion that I'm going to need to portray very different. Um oh, and I have a divisive character that I have yet to reveal. I really haven't said anything about this character at all, but I'll tell you right now that I think she's going to be harder to get along with than Saya in some ways. I don't know. She's genuinely mean. But for a reason, you'll find out. Okay, but thank you for the question. So, now for questions from Discord. Lumpy Schnitzel. Did I get milk from the same cow twice? So, it's a little bit of a silly question, but also, apologies. You're gonna hear like my bracelet shake and maybe planes fly over. I don't know. I just had like a military helicopter like fly over my house. So, I'm just. Apologize. I apologize for any random noises. Um, but probably depends on like how much milk you're drinking, what brand you're drinking it from, how much. Yeah, so I imagine at some point if you're buying milk from like a local dairy farm, then I assume you probably have, or if it's one specific type of milk that you've bought like recently, maybe there's like the same cow milk in each. I don't know. From Plotline Progenitor, why the name Small Stinky Squirrel? So this is a inside joke. Oh wait, no. Small Stinky Squirrel is like my Discord name on the Discord, and it's like an inside joke between me and my best friend. um, I can't really explain it, so it's a little bit strange. Scott, from Scott. Sorry. What made you get into producing audios, and do you still enjoy doing so? So, I've always been very into theater, uh, but in college, I in college I was actually thinking about doing a theater major, cause or not major, minor. Sorry, cause I really did love acting, but I've never felt like I was amazing, so I never did it. So I did like small club like culture festival play kind of stuff, which, it was okay, but I just personally don't think that I am a great actress on stage. I I do have that practice of acting. But at some point, I was doing Fiverr requests for fun because I had thought I could do like a pretty good like Himiko Toga impression. At that point, I was still into My Hero Academia. I'm not really into anime anymore. I've sort of grown out of it, which I didn't think would be happening, but I have. And and while I was doing Fiverr requests, I thought it was fun. Later, I had decided to do Twitch streaming, and someone on there had said that I should do ASMR because I had a nice voice, which was very kind of them to say. And I had plenty of ideas already. I'm always swimming with ideas for stories and stuff like that. And so one thing led to another, and boom, I have audios. So for the second part of the question, sometimes I wonder if I'm really any good at, I guess, acting, voice acting. I I I know I have like faults and I'm not the best in terms of range. I don't have a lot of range when it comes to my acting, and I full well admit that. But I am doing my best when I am recording and when I'm writing my audios and whatnot, but sometimes it gets really hard. Um, but this is like my own problem. Like, I'm the one who's making me feel like this, obviously. Uh, Sometimes I think that I'm like awful. Sometimes I really think I am awful at this. Um, yeah, I tend to get really hard on myself about my content, and sometimes I think that I should just stop. Like, I should just quit. But, like, at the end of the day, regardless of, like, what I think of myself, it's been proven that people like listening, and they enjoy the stories and ideas I'm gonna be putting out. Sorry, this is such, like, a rambly answer to the question. But there's plenty of people who enjoy and listen to me, and I know that I'm always going to be improving. I'm not going to be perfect at it, obviously. So I'm still growing constantly as I'm making my content. So yeah, I am still happy making audios. Of course, it stresses me out sometimes, but I still love it. um, yeah. Happy to make audios and share my ideas as long as people still want to listen. And I'm grateful that people want to listen. Yeah, thank you. From Band Aids. How have you been? What is your favorite time of day regarding both writing and acting? What do you do to make both? Oh, I'm reading the question weird. What do you do to make both compelling for the audience? So, I've been really sick lately. Uh, I'm like constantly sick. My body's like getting used to being in an environment that has a lot of sniffly little kids running around and coughing on you in your face. So it's just one sickness after the next. I'm I also had like a pretty bad like run of like dizzy spells, and I got like pretty fatigued. I'm okay. I'm okay now, but yeah, it gets in the way, which is a little annoying. But overall, I'm very happy. Mm, my favorite time of day is probably when the sun is setting. It's very pretty, and it's nice to think about how like everyone in my part of the world right now is starting to wind down for the night and settle in with their families or with their favorite activity, that sort of thing. So, sometimes. Okay. I think when it comes to writing and acting, I really try and make it personal to myself in some ways. It makes the writing and acting feel a lot more real because it's coming from a real place. I'll always take certain aspects of myself and have it form an important part of a character and their story arc, sort of. For example, I am not like Saya at all. I don't think I'm mean. Uh, yeah, I don't think I'm mean. I try not to be. I'm not like Saya. It's all I'm trying to say. Her personality, super different. But we do share a few things regarding our histories. Like when she grew extremely numb to music. That is something that I experienced, and that is something that affected Saya too. Because I wanted that to be a part of her since she did suffer from, and I'm not like a mental health professional, so I can't diagnose characters exactly. But I would say she suffered a long bout, several bouts of depression. And her being numb to music was one of the things that really hit her deeply in her soul. It wasn't just the sadness, it was just losing feelings. Because everyone loves a good tune. and and losing the ability to enjoy that is horrifying. You just feel so awful. And I wanted that to be a part of Saya's character to make her more real. It's relatable to some people. It's relatable to me. So when I am acting it out, like if I, especially when I cry for characters, I really try to imagine myself in that scenario and give it my all. Again, very helpful if part of the scenario is something that you have experienced. So that's how I try to make it compelling. Also, congrats on your channel. Okay, so from Mitch Mo Questions, if you could personally experience a historic US or international event, what would it be and why? Have any of the scenarios in the class rep series or university series actually happened to you or a friend, or are they all made up? Is there an audio request from a patron that left an impact on you? Is there a Vietnamese food that you love but think most people don't know? Is there a book series or television show that is critically acclaimed but you think it's not good or even awful? I would say the first flight. I recently developed a weird interest in aviation, and I think it would be really amazing to see this scientific feat of mankind. I think it's crazy how we managed to get up in the air, like, how'd we do that, y'all? A lot of testing, obviously, so I'd love to see it. Much of the class rep series is made up, so it's super inspired by shoujo anime. I love shoujo. I am a shoujo girly. I love romance. I love cute little tropes like forced proximity or having to like stay in a house together or a room together because of weather. But yeah, a lot of that is made up. Me in high school, I would never be alone with a boy ever. Ugh. It just wouldn't happen. So, yeah, very very not real. But for the university series, there's a couple things that are true. My roommate, not my roommate, but one of my friends was planning to transfer to another school immediately. Not that she was gonna go into like the Air Force or Defense Force or whatever, but she did want to transfer to another university, and she ended up doing that. We didn't live together though, but we lived in the same dorm. What else? the first meeting that they go to, very real. I think a lot of people that go to university know this. If you're living in the dorm for like the first time, you'll have a RA meeting the first time you come in, so you know the rules, you know like who to talk to people, you might get information about events, whatever. So that's very real. Also, on my first day of university, I was wearing a Hatsune Miku shirt, and a girl who ended up becoming my friend complimented it, and she thought it was cool. So there's that. Um, you could never catch me running on campus. I think it's kind of embarrassing. I don't know why. I don't like running in front of people. I think I just have bad form. So I don't want people to see me run. I would never run. Mm, is there anything else? There's a couple things like studying in the library together. I'm sorry. I'm like saying ugh and whatever because I'm trying to think. But yeah, study session in the library. I'd like stay up all night in the library to with friends to study. Though I'll admit there wasn't much studying happening. Yeah, but that's about it. Um, okay. Oh, so I don't really think any requests have left like a profound impact on me. They've been fun and challenging, and I've really enjoyed working on some audio. Some people like to make series out of their custom audio requests, and I think that is super fun. A lot of the times, it's characters that I'm not used to playing, so that's really exciting for me. Mm, though I would say I've certainly had requests that were a bit troubling, um, in ways that have taught me to enforce my boundaries, which I believe is an important thing to learn, not only as a creator, but also as a person. Oh, okay. So Vietnamese food, I know everyone loves like pho, um, but I love a bun bột lọc. Bột lọc? No, lọc. I think it's lọc. Um, so it's like this steamed dumpling thing that's like super chewy and it has pork and shrimp in it. But it is so good. I don't know what it is about tapioca starch, but it just makes things so yummy. I think that's why I like boba so much. I love boba. The texture is just, okay. I buy it whenever I can, but it's not available that often or gets bought up super quick at the supermarket. Yeah. So, a book I've read recently is like super loved and everybody is like raving about it. 5 stars, book of the year kind of thing. And I'm not going to name names for this book, but disappointment. Disappointment. I don't understand why people like it. It's probably one of the lowest rated. What? Lowest rated. Lowest rated. Lowest rated books I've read so far since I've started like reading again. It's just so. Ugh. I, ugh. Maybe at some point I'll do like a book review or something like that because I would love to rant about this book. Again, right? It's so highly rated. It's surprising. It's so surprising. It doesn't the characters are like bleh. I liked one of the side characters more than everyone else. But it's fine. It's okay. I saw what they were going for and they're trying. And I appreciate the effort. But I wouldn't read it again. So, okay. Thank you for the question. From Romy, what are your tips for world building? Also, fave audio series done thus far. So I can't really get into the whole process, but I would say think about the rules of the world. like what limits are placed upon the environment, the people, and the culture. You need to ask a lot of questions about how your world works. Um, Critiquing your world is super important, but don't like go too deep into the small things if it's like unnecessary to the story or the purpose that you've made it for. If you're just world building to world build, you know what? If you want to detail how table service works in your world, go ahead. If it's not necessary, don't write it. Doesn't matter. Because you're going to dig yourself too deep into something and you're going to lose track and not focus on what's important, like making sure the world is fairly consistent. There's going to be inconsistencies, but yeah. I think that Saya has been probably one of my favorites so far. She's really challenging, I would say. Super fun. She's very different from what I'm used to, and her story's incredibly difficult too. Divisive characters are just fun to work with. It's a lot to work with. Also, thanks Romy for sticking around for so long. Jimothy, who's your favorite Pokemon? What was your favorite of the Barbie films? If you've got if you got to have I can't read. If you got to have any pet from a Barbie film, which one are you picking? Would you rather have unlimited bacon but no more games, or unlimited games and no more bacon? Crunchy or smooth peanut butter? Lots and lots of questions. So, I like several Pokemon, but oh, you know what? I didn't think it was cold enough outside for my heat to turn on, but you might hear that in the background now. I'll try to filter it out. I hope anyway. So, my favorites are definitely a Psyduck, Luxray, and Gengar. My favorite Barbie film forever it will always be Barbie and the Three Musketeers. Favorite film since I was a kid. Watched it over and over again on a little like portable DVD player. It was great. If I could have any pet, I would say Bibble, but Bibble's kind of like scary. I think he might just have too much personality for me. So I would choose Bruce from the Barbie superhero film. I think he's cute, even if he's a villain. I like frogs. I would rather have unlimited games. I play The Sims 4, and I need every expansion there is. So unlimited expansions would do pretty well for me, and I don't really eat bacon anyway. I mostly eat turkey bacon. Yeah. I've never really liked bacon that much. And I like smooth peanut butter. I don't like eating peanuts unless they're boiled. So, yeah. I don't like crunchy peanut butter. Yep. Thanks. From Cosmic Rast. If you know of or about the Fate series, who's your favorite character? So I'm not really familiar, but I do like Rin Tosaka. I think she's a very cute character and her personality too. Yeah. I think tsunderes are fun sometimes, as long as they're not like super duper violent toward the guy or whoever. From John Smith. Serious question. Has Seiya always had a crush on Adept? Can Adept turn into a cat and a moose? Can Vorso do magic like humans besides shapeshift and strength? Also, how does Era know Adept? I think in Princess series she called him a former ally, but never went any further. So, Seiya has never had a crush on Adept. I think this is a misconception, simply because they met as children. So she admired him for his positive attitude and energy as a child, but she never loved him or anything like that. I would say she was fond of him, but not love. During that time in her life, she was already experiencing abuse, and overall, it was just really harrowing for her. And so he was a bright part of her life for a short time while he visited, but nothing more. You'll learn maybe a little more about their relationship, but again, very fleeting part of her life. I think you might get a fragment of Morena at some point talking about this very thing. So, yeah, if you're interested, I guess stick around and see. So, when Adept shifts, it's sort of more of a combination between the two instead of just one or the other. When Adept shifts, he's more like a panther with with antler kind of things going on. The Vorso cannot use God Bless magic. That is reserved for the humans of Pencos. So as long as you have, I suppose, human blood in you, you should be, well, if you have noble blood in you, you will be able to have God Bless magic. God Bless magic is specifically held through the noble bloodlines, but the Vorso can learn artificial magic. There's a there so you oh gosh, I'm like really flubbing on this. But okay, let me just start over. Sorry. So the Vorso can learn artificial magic from the academies, and this is magic that is available to all species of Morena. You can be any race. You can be a Vorso, you can be a Storia, you can be a human. And you can go to the academies, learn well enough, go through your courses, understand, and you will be granted the use of magic. Yeah. Also, Era only knows Adept just as the Crown Prince of Claris. They're not friends, they've never been friends. When Era was talking in that particular section of the story, she was referring to Anium, as in Anium is my closest ally, and now I have lost him because he's going off to war to fight. So, from Ada Epsilon, which audio episodes or series did you enjoy creating, recording, or performing the most? Which were the most challenging? So I said this before, I think, when I answered maybe Romy's question. I think Saya's very interesting to perform. She's a very complicated character with a complicated story. I would say she's been super challenging because of how difficult it is to portray who she is and why she acts in certain ways within a short amount of time. There's a lot of details that are sort of like under the surface almost. It's very subtle. So you have to listen super carefully to understand who she is. There's, like, for example, there's a lot of hesitation. There's moments of hesitation in her voice because she doesn't like acting the way she does, or it's almost like she snaps back into reality and realizes what she's doing. And you'll hear this a lot in the first audio. Although you might not necessarily catch it because you're sort of blindsided by how just like mean she is. But yeah. From Dragon Outrage, languages. So I can speak English, I speak Vietnamese, and a little bit of Japanese. I'd studied in university, and I'm currently learning French. Eternal Mochi. Does the Vorso have a heart organ? If so, is the gem in their forehead just another weakness of theirs? The Vorsos do have a heart. They have a normal heart. A lot of the the bodies of the other species are mainly humanoid. Obviously, if you shift and whatnot, then the structure of the body will be different, but for the most part, it's like, heart, lungs, that kind of thing. And the gem isn't a weakness, it's more of a symbolism to their connection to the divinity and their specific patron god, Atlas. Mm, and I guess depending on the type of gem, right, you will be given more skills than another person. Like how I was gonna call him Adler. That's a completely different character. How Adept has a different colored gem. That just means he has other skills that other Vorso with just like a regular purple gem do not have. Or gold gem, I think. Or am I switching them? Um, yeah. From Zeke. What type of message do you want to give to the world, or what example would you like to leave behind? So that's a really tough one. Yeah, that's a really, really tough one. Mm, okay. I feel like I would have like a whole podcast of things to talk about, like regarding what I've learned so far in my 20s. Um, but I would say that it's very important to reflect. Having the capacity to reflect upon one's action is extremely important, and it can be very meaningful for your life. Being able to critique yourself with kindness specifically is key. The point is to change your actions and not to put yourself down. If you're being overly critical of yourself, it is not helpful. It's sort of the same way when you're doing constructive criticism, where it's like you need to be able to uplift or appreciate certain aspects of media or text or whatever, but then you can, come in with that constructive feedback of how something could be fixed. Um, like when I'm too hard on myself, I need to realize that that is not being helpful or kind, and that it doesn't really make me a better writer, and rather I need to reflect and focus on what I can do better and what I'm doing great now. So, yeah, reflect on yourself with kindness. Moving on to questions from Twitter. Have you found it? Who is this from? What? Huh? Okay, I don't know who this is from. Oh no! Oh no, I don't know who this is from. Wait, let me check. I feel bad if I don't figure out who this is from. Okay. I apologize. I don't. Okay. Wait. Ooh, wait. I got it. OB Gamers 344. I'm so sorry. Um he's like an OG. Yeah, he was there on my when I was still Twitch streaming. But have you found it hard to write an overarching story? I would say it definitely can be. It helps a lot to write a super basic skeleton for what you want, and then you can add on. You just have to know how the main things fit together. You've got to make it all flow, but I think at the same time, like, if there's certain things that are inaccurate or you've grown and sort of changed your mind about something, I don't think it's bad to switch it around and make it more airtight in that way and say, like, this is inaccurate, this is the new lore going forward. Yada yada. Nudie Pie. Hi, how are you doing? So, my voice is starting to hurt. I usually take breaks like every 30 minutes when I'm doing an audio to rest my voice. And I think I'm at 40 minutes, maybe something like that. yeah, I'll rest it after. Hopefully I can get through the YouTube questions quickly. But thank you for asking. Zesset. Generally, which region was your favorite to do lore for? Well, I'd have to say Pengos for now. There's a lot of really cool and fantastic lore that I've created for that place already, as you guys have seen. A lot of the audios are Pencos based. Not that I don't care about Atticus or Claris, of course. There are going to be listeners coming up that are from those regions. So you'll get a better insight on the culture and how, I guess, how that kingdom is. And probably more lore for it too. But yeah, very excited to show you what else I have. But for now, I love Pencos. Pal the Bread. Hi, congrats on 20k. What was your inspiration for the Plecteri Knight in Princess Arahaima? Thank you for all the hard work and effort you put into your video, and have a nice day. Thank you. So I think for those characters, I based them pretty much on the vibes I get from general fantasy romance media. I feel like the Plecteri Knight has always been the super classic character, like good, solemn, a not very talkative knight guy. I feel like in a way he's not necessarily like the ideal dude, but he has quite a few traits that make a really good partner. He listens to Era, which is super important, and you know, he's just like a classic like male love interest. My eye is like getting blurry for some reason. I don't know what's happening. Okay. An Era is a very misunderstood princess. She's seen sort of as a brat. And a lot of her life events are inspired by my own, actually. But I haven't been entrapped in a palace or something like that. But some stuff that happened to her has happened to me. So that's sort of inspiration for her. Sriracha God, congrats on 20k. Since I'm a movie buff, do you have any favorite movies? I don't actually watch a lot of movies myself. I tend to watch like trash television. But I used to watch Titanic a lot. I think it's always been a good film. I also liked Lilo and Stitch and Paddington and The Nightmare Before Christmas, so there's that. Okay. Finally, we are on to the YouTube comments. It's gonna take a while. I expect this video is gonna be like an hour and 30 minutes long. Hopefully not. I would like to go and eat lunch soon. Okay. From I Eat Corgis. Will Anissa have her own story? Which of the listener characters so far is the most attractive in your mind, both in terms of looks and their personalities? Yes, Anissa will receive her own story. This will likely happen as I'm wrapping up my audio roleplay career on YouTube. So around the time I retire, whenever the last phase is, that's when Anissa's story will come, and you guys can listen to that, I guess. I think that so far with the stories that we've gotten to listen to, physically, it would be Book Boy as an adult and Anium. I think it's kind of funny though because they're super different from each other. Because like Anium is like dark hair and he has, I don't know, he has a very big build. He's like is he like 6'4" or 6'2" or something like that, I think. And then Book Boy, I mean, he has like ash brown hair, so it's a little bit lighter. He has freckles on his face. He's not short, but he's a lot shorter than Anium is. I think he stays around like 5'6", 5'7". Again, not short. Not short by any means, just a lot shorter than Anium is. Um, Personality wise, though, I would say a mix between Anium and Resias. I think it's like if we got a good guy who listens really well, is devoted to you, protects you, and is a smidge nerdy. It's pretty good stuff. Um, from Kenzo 20,000. Welcome back. I hope you had the fun of your life during the desired break that you've wanted for so long. I hope this vacation has recharged you, both physically and mentally. Thank you so much for your audios. As for the questions, do you have a dedicated room for recording? I know some voice actors use their closet to record. It must be so difficult. Is editing your own videos time consuming? Some of my favorite ASMRists I subscribe to are learning Japanese. Have you thought about maybe learning some Japanese? Not saying that you have to be fluent or anything. And have you tried doing a cover song like other voice actors are doing? So I don't have a dedicated room. I used to record in my closet when I was on Fiverr, but I did that during the summer, so I'd like suffocate a little bit. I've used a lot of different rooms, like a bathroom, a closet, the basement, and currently I'm just back in my bedroom again. It takes a very long time to edit, so I'm glad that I'm not gonna. Well, I there's gonna be spaces in between where I just blank out, and I will edit that out because I don't want you guys to have to listen to that. So, yeah. But for regular audios, cleanup can take a very, very long time. For the Villainous 4, yeah, Villainous 4 audio, I recorded like 3 or 4 hours, and then I took about 10 hours to edit. And this was like cleaning up, by the way. This was simply cleaning up the audio to make sure it sounded good. And then as I was going in to do my sound effects, it deleted the entire file, which was heartbreaking, if I'm gonna be honest. I was really upset by it. I've got to say. But yeah, like I said before, I've taken a little bit of Japanese in university. I can read most of katakana and hiragana, and when I listen to Japanese, I can understand a couple of things. Um, but as for like stringing together words, I think that's a little bit more difficult. And I do have a couple cover songs. I think I might have two on the YouTube. On the YouTube. On YouTube. And I have a couple on my Patreon, but I don't really sing anymore because I don't think I'm that great at it. From Chris Lynch, 8595. Alrighty, I'll bite. What inspired you to create such an intricately detailed world? Was it multiple things that coalesced into a single idea, or was it more of a spur of the moment that snowballed? Furthermore, once you find yourself finished with the already developed world to your own satisfaction, do you think you might explore alternate genres and themes? Okay, so, um, hmm. I've always been creating little worlds and stories. I wrote a lot as a kid, and I would have just a million ideas just kind of bouncing around. I've always been a really big fan of romance stories, and I loved writing them also as a kid. I think my first story ever was about a maid. It was about a maid and a prince. That was my first little thing I wrote ever. Although there were mermaids involved, so it was a little different. But yeah, that was my first one ever. Um, and a dragon princess. And a dragon princess. But yeah. I've always loved writing them, so it kind of made sense to use some of my characters that I had written about before. Sometimes I'll just make characters, have a whole bio for them, make a tiny, like, vague world for them and stuff, and yeah, I guess that's kind of where I got Morena from. it usually starts with like a concept, a single concept, and it builds and builds and builds when I get inspiration. Um, I think as far as my channel goes, I'm gonna keep working on my fantasy world and probably have a few contemporary audios here and there. And just end it there. I don't really want to explore anything else unless I have a lot of love for that particular genre. And it's not like I don't want to challenge, I just don't want to write something I'm not personally invested in. From Eternal Mochi. If you were to get a cat, what would you name it? Which country would you like to visit if you get the chance? What song do you recommend I put in my Spotify playlist? What should I name my pet dog? Do you put milk after cereal or cereal after milk? What animals do you think are cute? Is Bruno Mars cool? Is cereal soup? As a child, what was your favorite game to play? Are Vorosouls colorblind? And how old was Adapt when his mother died? I would name my cat Conkers. If oh gosh, I hit the mic with my glasses. um, if I get the chance, I'd like to visit England. Um, so this isn't a very fun song to listen to, but Cowboy Like Me by Taylor Swift is definitely one of my favorites. For dog name? Okay, well this has been a while, so I don't know, like Scout, maybe Peach. Mm. I do cereal first and then milk after. I like cats, puffins, and otters. River otters. I don't really listen to Bruno Mars, but I don't think I've heard anything bad about him, so sure. He can be cool. Oh, I would say no. Cereal's not soup. I think you have to do a lot more than just like mixing two ingredients together and then calling it soup. Often it involves some sort of cooking or preparation, and I don't think that's much preparing going on. So I really love The Sims 3. I also loved Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. Vorsos can see color. They are not colorblind. Adept was probably 11 to 13 when he lost his mother. I don't like to be specific with ages because it gets a little bit like confusing. So yeah, thanks. From Hot Soup 4319. If you could turn any of your series into a show or a movie, which would you choose? I would choose Empress Era. I think there's a lot of action in the show that I can't portray well just voice-wise, especially by myself. And it would probably make for a really cool Game of Thrones feel-ish show, kind of. From John Person 133. How do the people of Claris feel about Adept? Like, do they feel angry their prince was taken, or are they a bit relieved? Also, could we see Adept show he cares for Shia, protecting her from someone else? And will Adept show up in different future series? I think that it can't be tied into a single answer. Just like in reality, the opinion of certain political leaders are very differed. And based on the context of my world, it's very different from the real world. Still, many people are going to believe and feel different things in regard to Adept. Many people understand that Adept was a very young prince and he was likely manipulated by the regent. Some find no fault in what Adept did at all, because just like them, they were fighting for their country they thought were being attacked, right? While some are pretty angry at Adept, because some people may think, well, how could he not know? How could he not see what was going on? And that he just didn't do anything to stop it. Some people think he's a coward. I think many people are just, they're unsurprised that Ad was taken, especially since he's the last one remaining at that point in time because Anissa, Miro, and Theron had gone missing, so they had no idea where they were, and so they're unsurprised that he was taken in. But I would say that most people are just unsure and unsettled by Adept. They're unsure of how he'll rule, and since he was also underaged when a lot of it happened, there's just a lot of questions about how blame can be like really placed. It's just a lot of uncertainty overall. I think that more of Adept showing care towards Seiya will happen in Villainous Part 5. At this point in time, their relationship in Part 4 is still pretty rocky. I think they're coming around to the idea of being around one another more and being allies, being friends, because at this point in time, that is the situation. Adept is here with Seiya to be protected under Pencoast. Seiya is trying her best to help Adept, help give him an environment that isn't toxic for him because he needs a break from it. She realizes that she was not helpful. She realizes that she was doing a terrible job right at the beginning. And so she's trying her best, but she obviously feels awkward about it still because after everything that's happened to Adept, how could Adept ever forgive her? But then Adept also feels a large amount of guilt for what he's done and is unsure of how to follow. Um, and so in part 5, more time has passed. They've spent a lot more time together, especially in Chloris, and there will be a big moment of care between them, and I hope you look forward to that. So, Adept's name might be mentioned in some of the children's series, like Arlan's or Anissa's, but he probably won't have his own series. From A, it's Kieran, 1958. How did you manage to create such in-depth lore and story for your fantasy series? Tough question to answer. There's just a lot of moving parts. I wanted to make sure that the characters are fairly complicated, and in turn that like complicates the world. There just needs to be a lot of layers to the lore, and connecting them will make it even deeper. And just understanding that the characters and the world, it continues to move and operate between scenes. Um, yeah, so that's how I manage, I suppose. From Anime Craze 556. Firstly, I would like to ask, how long had the idea of Morena been something you wanted to build upon? Secondly, favorite caffeinated drink. If you don't drink caffeine, what's your favorite beverage? And lastly, your audio roleplay dramas are truly something picturesque. I wish you nothing but the I, okay. I wish you nothing but the best moving forward as you reach your 20K submark and keep going forward in your life by doing what you're enjoying. That's all from me, a humble YouTube gremlin. Well, thank you very much. You're very kind. Um, I think Morena's been around for a little while, at least 2019, or before that even. I created Shiida's, the character, a long, long time ago, um, but it wasn't her name originally. That was something I created later. But the ideas were there before they became what Morena is today. I think Livius is actually probably one of the oldest characters. Um, yeah, I found a little sketch I made of Livius from a from like a notebook. So he's been around for a while. I used to drink Monster a lot when I was doing university, but I don't do it anymore because I don't think it's good for you. I drink 1 cup of iced black coffee on my way to work, and usually a cup of tea at work or after work. Angel Duran, 9235. Will Duke Anium and Princess Era's children have their own story? P.S. Love the audios. I'm glad you do. So Arlen will probably get his own story. This will also probably be the last audio I'm going to produce, but that won't be for a long, long while. From Water 3442. Who would you consider the strongest character that we've been introduced to? And if you had a ranking of the strongest characters, what would that be? And also, what is the age difference between Anium and Era? Well, I'd say that Anium is definitely the strongest character that's been a listener, but in terms of like who's the actual best, I think I've mentioned their names in lore and stuff, but Headmistress Cinna of Inmoke is the strongest. I would say she sort of ties. She ties with Atlas of the Church of Morena, but she's the strongest in terms of like raw strength and sword skills and magic. So she'd be like the ultimate boss if she was a boss. But Headmaster Vesper of Singuis is strongest in terms of magic. So Cinna would beat both Anium and Vesper in a duel with like swords and weapons and stuff, while Vesper would beat Cinna at magic, and both Vesper and Cinna would beat Anium at it. But then I guess if anyone wanted to get into like a arm wrestling match with Atlas, I think they would all lose against him. Oh, and again, I don't like to be too specific. At some point, I might make it like actually specific, but Anium's about 3 years older than her, something like that. From Unknown, will we get any art of the listeners' characters? Also, will we get some flags for Pencos, Atticus, and Claris? How long do Storia, Vorso, and humans, including God-blessed humans, each live? I've actually been slowly building up a portfolio of art for the listeners, and I only have Anium and Adept so far. I might share that at some point, but we shall see. I've actually posted my flag ideas on Patreon, so yeah. I guess if you're on there, you've seen it already. I will be posting them to YouTube soon in the community tab. Oh, I hit the mic again. It's great. So Storia vary in lifespan. It really depends on the type of story they are. Many of the queens of Atticus have lived up to 600 years, but they can also have a very short lifespan, like 30. But most Storia in general, I would say, live, to about 250. So they're pretty old. Vorso lived between 110 to 200 years. Again, it depends what kind they are, that sort of thing. And humans live from about 80 to 150. And God bless humans do not have a longer lifespan. It probably depletes their lifespan more like it, really. I guess depending on how much magic they're using. To dub the Bub 74. Hey, welcome to the land of the sleepy. Hope things went well on your time away. Plus, can't wait for new content. My question to you is, what is the most meaningful place to you, and does it connect to how you make content or view the world? Thanks for all your hard work and time you put into giving us meaningful content to listen, have fun, and live freely. A fan. Well, thank you for being my fan. I think it's my home. I think it's the home I lived in. Or I'm living in. So I've grown up in this place and it holds a lot of good memories for me. Some are bad, some are good, but it's where I wrote my silly little stories as a kid, and it's where I create content now. So I'll hopefully continue to live here for a pretty long time and continue creating and growing. Um, Georgia Aarons. What if Adam tried, successfully or not, to end his life at some point after part 3 of the villainous series? What would Saya, Livius, Deanna, and Leo think? What would happen to Anissa and to Claris if he died? What if Claris had won the war? What would become of Adam, Livius, Deanna, Anissa, Saya, Theron, Miro, and the like? What if Deanna had loved Adam instead? Um, I don't know. I think rule rule in Claris would be a big toss up. Atticus and Pencos might maintain rule until Anissa's old enough. I mean, the council could even take over, possibly. It depends really on their actions. Um, but that would be up to the church's discretion. The church is pretty much like the highest power in all of Morena. They do a lot of regulation for everybody else. So, yeah. Um, Saya would probably be really devastated. She already feels super guilty, and it would hurt her a lot that maybe it was her fault. Maybe she could have done more to help him. Livius would probably be surprised. I wouldn't say he'd be actually happy about the loss of life. Especially because it sort of screws over Leo's plans. Deanna would probably be heartbroken. She doesn't hate Adept, so and she cares for him still. I think she's always cared for him, but it would definitely be heartbreaking. And Leo would probably be frustrated over his death. um, if Claris would have won, if that was possible, I don't. If so, here's the thing: is that Claris was always meant to lose. They weren't meant to win when they got into the war, and so there wouldn't have been a war at all. But if Claris had just started a war to start a war, then Saya would be married off to Theron as planned, and he would be made the ruler. Ada probably would have just died under mysterious circumstances, again as planned. I guess the plans were supposed to be sort of run his reputation to the ground, have him die, and then have Theron and Saya get married. So that's what would happen. Livy Cynthiana would stay married. Anissa would probably be married off to someone in the Elder Council, maybe a son of someone in that council. Hopefully not someone actually in the Elder Council, but Miro would rule alongside Theron. Yep, that's pretty much what would happen. If Deanna loved Ada and they had married, it would be very complicated because of the story's influences. But in the most simplistic explanation, Deanna would die. Deanna would die. Or, in order to keep her alive, Ada would have to kill Miro, Theron, and Anissa. But yeah, that's just what would happen. Who stole my pancakes? What if Adam doesn't want to be friends with Deanna again because it's too painful for him? Does Deanna actually want to be friends with Adam, or is it simply that she wouldn't mind if she could be, but is fine if not? What if Livius tries to kill Adam in part 3? Then they just won't be friends. Deanna doesn't want to seek out Adam because, I guess, of that reason. It might be too painful or hard for him. If he wants to be friends, then he will come to her when he's ready. Deanna, I think, would love to be friends again. She cares about him, right? But only if he wants a real connection with her and not one to just satisfy his loneliness. But really though, I don't think she minds either way because she would respect Adam's decision to not continue their friendship. Oh, but if Livius tried to kill Adept, he'd probably. I don't know. It just wouldn't end well for him, I don't think. Destroyer Rex, 1671. What are the Vorsos? What separates them from the humans? What would happen if Miro died instead of Rio or Mala, or if Miro just died and there'd be no blame on Pencos? What would the relationship be like with Adept and Theena? Will Ardor have a big role in the series, like a new villain threat of the series? Will Adept have a redemption story, like in the villainous story, where he does something heroic and people start liking him? Will I get to see this character I gave you, the Curse, play a big role in the series? I don't mind if he's just there for lore, but when will we get to see him? What's your favorite movie, TV show? How many movie or TV moments inspired key events in the lore? Like the Curse was based off of a character who was from a movie franchise. What is Adept and Thiena's relationship after the ball? Does she still want to cut ties, or are they going to rebuild their friendship? What would the story be like if Adept left Thea and everyone at Anium's wedding? What would happen to Claris and everything? What would have happened if Adept acted more appropriately to Theena and decided what she said and left Miro? Could they have fallen in love or still be friends? What will happen in the story? Is Livius going to do everything in his power to prevent Seiya from marrying Adept? Does Adept have PTSD? What would Seiya do if Adept danced with a different girl twice at Anium's ball? Lots of questions, oh my goodness. So, Vorso are shapeshifters. They shift from humanoid forms to animal forms. They also have very enhanced strength, and Vorso, like the Storia, can have spirit magic, but it is super rare. If it was one simple timeline, then Adept would just become king. He'd likely still marry Seiya if he were to have a politically arranged marriage, but the relationship between Theena and Adept would remain friendship. So Ardor is a very weird character. He's not necessarily the biggest bad. He's more of an anti-hero, if anything, but he'll show up later during another audio as a listener. He's actually currently in an audio that is available on my Patreon. It's a prequel story. Well, like a prequel story. But story-wise overall, he is very important. So Adept won't necessarily do anything heroic to make people like him again. He will work on the structure of Claris to become more beneficial to his people. Figure out what's the best for them and do it. Because heroics don't mean that the people will automatically like him or that a heroic act will improve their situation. Although I think the Curse is a fun character, I've had a great time reading, what your story is about, but I don't think he'll be making his way into one of my audios. Most of my audios are already set in stone and have been outlined for a long while, but maybe you'll hear his name in a future audio randomly. I have put him in the lore page though, if you want to see, because I thought he was just so fun. I wanted him to just randomly be in the world. I don't think any specific shows have inspired key events in my audios, but there's certainly common tropes in popular fictional shows and TVs that are seen in my audios. Theena has forgiven Adept, but Adept hasn't really forgiven himself for what he's done. Interacting with Theena feels a bit difficult because he feels pretty guilty and undeserving of her forgiveness. There's a lot of talk about how he, claimed Theena as his own, despite her being married to another guy. He also, you'll hear about this later, but there were serious threats made against her life just because she ended up with another guy. So, even though Adept wasn't in the right sort of mindset, he feels super undeserving of her forgiveness. I think after some time, when Adept has been far away enough, apart from her for a while, then they will begin rebuilding their friendship. If Adam just went off and disappeared, it's very likely that Pencos would send search parties after him. Livius would have to organize these search parties under supervision, since it was likely his cruel words that made him run off. And if he was never found, Anissa would likely take over instead, or Adam's uncle, if it came down to it. If Adam had taken the time to really get to know Theana and acted in an appropriate manner, I think Theana would have been more appreciative of him. That was a weird sentence, but I think you get what I said. But they'd still stay friends. She just, in every timeline the way it was supposed to be, she just would not have fallen in love with him. And sometimes that's the reality of things. So Livius is gonna let Shia do what she wants. He respects what she wants to do. He knows that Shia is doing certain things for a reason. And he might have a few words to say, they might not be so nice, but he's not going to stop her. He just doesn't want his sister to get hurt again, is all. I'm not exactly a mental health provider, but I'd say that Adam has definitely suffered a lot of abuse over the years. This is mostly mental, verbal, not physical. But yeah, he definitely has a lot of anxiety and very severe reactions to things. I think Seo would be very surprised that he'd be out on the dance floor, considering how nervous he was about it, but I think she would feel a little bit annoyed. Joy Winter, 5729. Could we get some audios of Adept and Theana becoming friends again? I might make some fragments of Morena based on Theana and Adept meeting and talking again. That was actually a plan, but I don't think I'll have that be a thing until after Seiya is done. Seiya's story is done. But yeah. Amer Car 2578. Is Anium the strongest human character in the universe? Is there any living or undead who are equal or stronger to him? Also, welcome back. Anium is the strongest human character. There's a few side characters who are stronger than him, and also a few on the Shroud side. And Ardor is one of those characters. You serious cactus. Did you jump straight into audio roleplays, or did you do some sort of training to become better at it? I've been a theater kid since the 6th grade, so since I was 11 or something like that, so I've had plenty of practice acting. Sibo 4553, also asked by Arsene on Twitter, in all the characters so far, which one do you relate to the most and why? Okay, this is gonna sound super weird because everybody has a really bad impression of this character. But the character I relate most to is Queen Despina. Okay, but not the current Queen Despina. I'm not evil or crazy or anything like that, but Despina pre-Erish's death is very similar to my own personality. She's very anxious and her mind pretty much goes a mile a minute. She jumps to conclusions all the time. And I think she is one of the most heartbreaking and endearing characters I have. I just feel super connected to her. So I'm excited for you to hear her story. Hayden CM, if you could spend time with any of your characters, who would it be? Okay, so I think it would be really fun to spend time with Vesper or Leo. They're super strange and eccentric characters, so I think it'd be interesting. Air Striker 76. Of course, the most important question, who do you main in Super Smash Bros? I've never played Smash in my life, except for at a Target video game display. As consolation, I used to main Ana in Overwatch, but yeah, that's, yep. Arthur Zigart, 4175. Welcome back, little one. I hope the vacation was good and you got nice memories. Glad to have our princess back. Big hugs to you. Question, how are you doing? How was the hiatus? Okay. throat it's starting to get sore. Hopefully I'm almost done. I've been working at a real job for the first time. It's a blast. It's fun and stressful sometimes, but I'm kind of sort of fulfilling my dream job goal. And eventually I will make it to my actual dream job goal. Hiatus was alright too. Vacation was really fun until it wasn't. I actually got bit by a cat and I had to get a rabies vaccine. And let me tell you, it is the least fun you will have. Um, yeah, the bite was like nothing, and I still have a scar from it months and months later, but the shots were awful. I think I got like, I don't know, like maybe 6 to 10 shots in the same, like, maybe 2 or 3 hours I was getting medical attention for. It was rough, I'll say. But otherwise, I enjoyed it. No Maddox. The question, what's your favorite food? And if you don't have a favorite, give us your top 5. My favorite food is a Vietnamese dish called gom tam. Hakim Gur 9552. What softwares are used for the creation of the videos? I use programs like Audacity, Shotcut, and Canva, which are all very accessible to everyone. Shoddy 1251. Can you give us a little hint on what new content is coming? For the next phase, content is still being decided, like which order of things are going to be coming out. I still have quite a few stories I'd like to explore, but you are definitely getting Crown Prince Leo and Victoria. And it involves false identities, love potions, revenge, and mercenaries. Okay. Narbat 1766. What is your upload schedule? I don't get how it works. Do you just post whenever or do you have a plan? So I used to have an upload schedule, but it like burned me out super bad. I like cried about it. So I just upload whenever I can now. I try to do it at least once a month. Sometimes that just doesn't happen, but I am trying my best. I don't want to force myself to like upload because this isn't a job. And it will get me like super unmotivated. I got burnt out really before, so I don't want to do it again. Master Golem 5646. Do you have a pre-recording ritual? I put on lip balm, I drink some water, and do a few voice exercises like you know. If there's a specific character, I'll usually go back and listen to an older video and use a certain phrase to start off my recording. Like for Manea, it's "Good morning, my lord." So that's sort of the voice I will get into. Virgil Barrius 3174. Are there any orc girls in this world? There are orcs. They are part of the Storian race in Atticus, and they live on Var Formolda Mountain. They're a very well-respected blacksmithing community. User JR6DW4DC5V. In the future, would you do more live streams? And how old are you? I would love to. Maybe when I get a new PC. Sometimes my laptop can't even load Google Chrome. So streaming right now on that thing is sort of off the table. It's also like 6 years old now, and it's having a very, very hard time. And also, I am 24. Sayson 5368. What's your favorite color? My favorite colors are light blue, aqua, and light purple. Damien Tapia 6222. What's your favorite anime? Who's your favorite content creator? What is your favorite show? What got you into YouTube? Who is your favorite artist and what is one thing that you love? And what is your favorite video game? My favorite animes of all time are Yona of the Dawn and Haikyuu. My favorite content creators, the first one is Call Me Kevin. I've been watching him for years and years, ever since like he started playing like Call of Duty. And the other one is Mentor Pilot. I don't really have a favorite show. I bounce between shows, but way, 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 way back when, I used to like Psych, and I really love Bridgerton on Netflix. Mm, so I got into YouTube because of a follower on my Twitch who liked my voice and encouraged me to get into audio roleplay. Okay, well, I don't really have like a favorite artist. I like pre. Is it Raffaelli? I don't know. That sort of thing, like the Ophelia painting. That's a favorite, but music artist, my favorite is Taylor Swift. I've been a fan since I was a little kid, when she debuted in like 2006, so I was like 7 or 8. 7. I was like 7 when I became a fan. Um, I love my bestest friend in the whole world. And my favorite video game is the Sim series. I have like almost every expansion pack. Almost. No, wait, no. I do. I have every expansion pack right now. I just don't have like all the stuff packs and whatever. I don't need them. And that's all for YouTube questions. But I have one final special question from Hail Dixon or Spin Cycle. Spin Cycle? Spin Cycle. Sorry. You may have heard him in a a recent audio, maybe. He's my best friend and my boyfriend. So, yeah. If you could pick just one album, book, game, film, or TV show to listen, read, watch, play, what would they be? Really tough one. Album, I would choose Fearless. Um, Fearless, Taylor's version by Taylor Swift. It's my favorite album from my favorite artist. So, yeah. As for book, again, my taste in books changes, but I would say A Court of Mist and Fury. It's lengthy and it would probably keep me entertained for a while. For game, 100% Sims 4, but it has to have every single add on. Yep. TV show, I would say Bridgerton, because I've watched it like 20 plus times and I could do it again. I love the Regency era. Whew. Okay. Finally, I'm done. Thank you for sticking along with me and listening to this entire thing and hearing me ramble. Yeah. I hope that through this you got a couple questions answered and that you got to know me a little bit better. I don't often talk like very personally through Shia does. I talk through my characters. But yeah. Again, thank you so much for 20K. I am so grateful for all your support, and I wouldn't be here without you guys. And I am so serious about that. If you watched my first anniversary video, you'll know. But yeah, I am eternally grateful. Because I there's just too much to say and I don't want to waste any more time. But yeah, I really, really love you guys. Thank you so much. Stay cozy, sleep well, and yeah. Signing off. Shia does.